Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. So, you're looking for a job, you got to make that resume. Well, what if you just embellish it? You don't have to lie, but you can say you worked there for like 5 years when you worked there for 4 years, and you could say you were a manager, not just an assistant manager. And if you've ever fudged your background like that, you're not the only one. Apparently, it's pretty common. Dr. Sherry Yellen is on the James Show. She's a business coach and author of Unforgettable Leadership, 7 Principles for Leading, Learning, and Living. So I guess it's kind of common for job seekers to be, I don't want to say dishonest, but I mean, it is kind of dishonest.
I think there's a lot of bending of the truth, and it should be a good heads up for us.
Right. And I can't say that I am completely innocent, because I've put down that, I did the morning show at this station for so many years, and I was a co-host. It wasn't my show, but I mean, that's just really getting to semantic games almost. How bad can you lie and still get away with it?
Well, I think there are the extreme cases where people have said that they had been a head football coach and things of that nature in the past, and they'd actually never coached. I think you see less of that today because you can Google anybody's name and find that information out pretty quickly. So I think it's more around, did you really hit that sales goal that high, or do you really have that many responsibilities in your last role that would be considered managerial responsibilities? I think there's a lot of polishing and maybe over representing and your accomplishments in the past. I think there's a lot of that. On the other hand, there's another side to this conversation, right, which is the employer. And sometimes we find that the employer is embellishing the truth also on what it's like to work at that company or hold that position. So it's going on both sides of things, and therefore both sides really need to do their homework, and really be aware of what's going on in that interview.
All right. So if I am a business owner or someone who's in a position to do hiring, what are some tips to weed that out?
Oh, gosh. Well, first of all, be prepared. There's times when we do interviews where you look at your watch and you say, oh, yeah, that candidate's here. Let's rush in and do the interview. What we really need to do as companies is slow down and realize that that is a very costly process if we don't get it right. So doing really good preparation on your part to take a look at the position, what are the skills that are essential to be successful, making sure that we build strategic questions around that, maybe have multiple people do interviews. And I think the third thing is when you bring someone on, do not hire and forget. It's so important to closely monitor their performance that first 30, 60, 90 days, and making sure that they not only have the technical skills, but they are a good culture fit. Really important.
Some of this conversation that we're having here, Sherry, reminds me of similar conversations I have with my single friends when they talk about how they discovered someone embellished their dating profile. Like you're not 6'3", and that's an old picture. That does not look like you anymore.
Yeah, really.
It has the same kind of vibe.
It absolutely does. And I think that social media encourages, everything from filters to saying you went to this school, but you really didn't go to that school. Maybe you attended a class 10 years ago at that school, but you didn't finish. I think you're exactly right. Like, where's that hot guy that was on the Harley? Right?
Yeah, he's gone.
And sometimes in the interview situation, we're seeing a lot more of that. And the problem is employers oftentimes, because they're desperate for people to come into different roles, they have a filter, right? So you hear what you want to hear, and that can be really costly down the road. So that's one of the things that we need to avoid, and you can do that by doing the work up front and being sure that you have a real involved and robust selection process.
Did you deal with this in any of your in your book, The Unforgettable Leadership? Was this part of that?
We do. We talk about, in that book, the whole premise is if we can lead, learn, and live the way the brain works best, we can get better results with less effort. And part of our brain is this need to feel included and to be accepted. And so even if we don't have the initial intention, we find that oftentimes people say things or they embellish things or they make things sound grander than they really were because of this need to feel a sense of belonging.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Sherry Yellen, a business coach, author of Unforgettable Leadership, 7 Principles for Leading, Learning, and Living. This is The James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Bob Lavelle, Home Marketing Services, back on with us. And Bob, for the people that are waiting for the mortgage rates to go down before they buy, how long are they going to wait? You might as well jump in. You're going to buy the house, and when rates go down, you'll refinance. Stop waiting.
I agree. And again, right now, the administration and the feds have not kept their promises to reduce it the 3 times. They're debating about reducing it once, maybe just before the election. But depending on who ends up in the White House, my feeling is that the rates are going to get back to normal real quick, starting in January, if we get the right person in there. I also believe that if they buy their house now, like a couple I talked to today, they're not going to close until February because we're going to build it from scratch for them. They pick out all their own colors. They lock in the price with that $500 earnest money that our preferred lenders let us do. And then I'm thinking that the rates are actually going to be down. If not by then, keep in mind our preferred lenders are also buying down those rates. So you're right. If you're going to think about getting a house, don't wait until down the line. Lock up the price now and watch what happens with the rates.
Right. You've already been waiting too long as it is. So pick up the phone and call Bob. He can get that taken care of for you. 972-392-9595. 972-392-9595. Remember, you're going to marry the house and date the rate. 972-392-9595. Thanks again, Bob.
Thank you, James.